What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. This right here, as you all know by now, is the podcast where we dive into the deep, dark, murky waters with a plethora of legendary guests. I am, of course, your host, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's REXXX. You might also know me as the King of Sleaze, a.k.a. the Hair Metal High Priest, and most importantly, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. Take a look, folks. You know it to be true that you are, in fact, looking at the son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams. I got a million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Bop Loo Bop Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. Ooh. I am feeling good, and of course, I am looking good. Everybody in the house looking good. You all out there looking good. You know how I get it done? Right there. Any way you slice it, this is the stuff that gets you looking sharp. Coming to you, as always, from the Lavender Lounge of Love, joined as always by the great Keith Hernandez Puppet. Couldn't do it without him. This is, of course, the No Frills podcast. You don't get any frills, but you do get plenty of thrills. And that is looking at the face of the second greatest frontman to ever do this rock and roll thing. Me, right here, the hardest working man in showbiz. And, of course, it's also the No Frills podcast because we don't edit nothing. We don't know shit about technology over here in the Pod Scum camp. We do what we do. We get into the meat and potatoes. We give you what we give you. We don't edit shit. You don't like what you're seeing or hearing, slide your little fucking cursor and get to where you want to be. That being said, if you are watching, please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel here. And be sure to follow Pod Scum on Facebook. Because if you're not on Facebook, you're going nowhere in life, apparently. And today, we have another good fucking episode. Great episode. I don't even want to downplay my episodes. They're all fucking great. I am the template for which all podcasts should be molded around, or molded after, I should say. Little bit of banter, and then pow! That's right, pow! Right into the fucking meat and potatoes. I think that's what you've come to love and expect from the Pod Scum brand. And our guest is here right now, so we will get down to it and chop it up with him on Pod Scum. I am excited, so let's get into it. See that, Tony Black? This stuff's not all that intimidating, this technology, right? I mean, pretty simple, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not bad. I mean, you know, I'm a 50-year-old guy too, man. So anytime anybody tries to set me on a course to do anything that involves technology, I'm always very nervous about it. You know, I mean, it's not my cup of tea. It's not the era. I'm assuming that we're probably in that same age bracket. We didn't grow up with this stuff, you know?
Yeah, I'm 50. Yeah.
It's intimidating. It's intimidating. You know, yeah, even now I have problems with a device. I hand it to my fucking kids, you know?
Yeah,
even my grandkids, and they're all under fucking 10, and I still trust them to figure this out a lot more than I would. But Tony Black, DRUID Lord, Massacre, where do I even fucking start? I know where I want to start, man. When I was listening in anticipation of doing this and listening to Relics of the Dead, I love what you guys do, man, because you're not following any fucking trends. You're still hammering us with 6-7 minute songs, a la the good old days.
Yeah, yeah. That was, you know, what we grew up with. And so we don't have 3 riffs or 4 riffs a song. We have like 7 riffs. You know? We like to take you on like this epic journey. Yeah. And we don't know where it's going to end. And hopefully it's, you know, you don't either. You know, I want it to be unpredictable, but just, you know, we love the slow stuff. We love fast stuff. We just like slow stuff a little bit more. And we
But with the trends that are existing in music right now and the listening habits, and I've talked about this ad nauseum on here, man, about people's attention spans and just how we consume music nowadays. You know, is there any talk amongst the band like, Jesus, man, people really aren't digging 6-7 minute songs anymore? Or do you guys just say the hell with the fucking trends?
We don't care, man. We write the music for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, we write stuff that we want to hear. And if people dig it, that's awesome. If they don't, like if we got like some really horrible feedback, you know, I suppose it would probably, you know, we would probably do something different, but we've been getting good feedback. So as long as people dig it, we just keep doing what we're doing, you know.
What was your upbringing like? Do you remember a certain album or an artist or a song that resonated with you and really got you, really set you on this course of doing music?
Yeah, Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sabbath was the one band that changed my whole life. And I still listen to Sabbath like once a week at least. Like I like Beatles. I like Judas Priest, Metallica. Of course, when Metallica came in, it changed everything for everybody, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody started getting a little heavier. I like Sabbath because they were dark.
Yeah.
You know? A lot of my friends were like Iron Maiden fans, and it took me a long time to get into Iron Maiden because a lot of it was like it was very happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, and I was like, and you know, I was like, yeah, that's cool. And now I love it. But you know, back in the day, I was not a huge Maiden fan. And then I heard Celtic Frost, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like that. They had this cool 3/4 thing that I don't know if you're a musician or
I'm not. No.
Yeah, they did this. Almost everything in fucking modern music is in 4/4.
Yeah.
So when you got somebody doing stuff in 6/8 or 5/8, you know, doing different cool shit.
Yeah.
Celtic Frost was one of those bands, man. They had this really cool thing that they used to do that was off time. And a lot of people tried to emulate that, and we do it a little bit. We did it a lot in my other band, Equinox. We did a lot of we ripped Celtic Frost off a lot. But yeah, dude, Slayer, you know,
goes without saying. Yeah.
And
of course, I can certainly hear the Metallica because I mean, come on, the originators of the 7-minute fucking opus.
Yeah.
You know, I mean.
But when it got into Doom, I started listening. I remember in the early 90s, I was listening to a lot of My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost and Crowbar. You know? So that when I got to be honest, when Pete wanted to do a Doom band, I was like, yes. And I was like, are people going to be into it, man? Because Doom, to me, Doom had its day. Yeah. You know? And he's like, I think it'll come back, man. If we do a good job, you know, people like it.
Sure.
So I was like, he sent me a guitar track. It was a guitar track of him playing one guitar track with an electronic drum set with our old drummer. And I was like, and it was Chamber of Ghastly Horror. And I was like, oh my God, I love this. And then we didn't even put vocals to that. We sent that same track to a label, and they signed us with a scratch guitar track and a scratch drum track.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no vocals, no leads, no bass, nothing. So, and that was Horror, Pain, Gore, Death.
Yeah,
and I was like, we knew we were onto something, you know, because everybody was digging it. So.
And what's the creative process like when you guys get together? You know, I'm talking about DRUID LORD. When you guys get together and you're going to write, you know, is there somebody that comes in with the lion's share of the ideas, or you know, is it very collaborative? It's not
hugely collaborative. So Chris and Pete get together and they come up with the riffs that we're going to write. It's probably 70% Pete and 30% Chris, because Chris hasn't been in the band. He's been in the band 4 or 5 years. He hasn't been in the band like, you know, Pete from the beginning. So Pete writes the majority of the music, and then Pete gets together with Eldon and goes through the drum parts, and then Eldon will say, hey, what about if we did this here? And you know, so he's got some input,
right?
As far as the arrangement, you know, Eldon's got input, and then I come through and I'm like, okay, I want to sing there, and then Pete will be like, no, dude, I'm doing a lead there, and I'm like, man. So I'm like, well, I was like, I'm like, you made my verses for repetitions, but if I sing on the very first one, that's not going to work. So I need 6 of those. So I kind of tell him, hey man, that ain't going to work. I need more there or less there. Yeah. And then, and then I write the majority of the lyrics now. When we first started, it was 50-50, but I soon began to find out that if I'm not control in the writing process of writing the lyrics, and we write this song, and what if and people like it, and then I got to sing it a lot, like for years and years,
right? And
I'm not too keen on it. That sucks.
That's hard. That's hard. I get that.
Yeah. So I write probably, like the last album, I think he wrote 2 songs and I wrote the rest. So I write the majority of the lyrics now because I got to sing it, Yeah.
So, and you got to believe it. Yeah.
And I got to like it and believe it. And when you don't believe it and you're not into it, people can tell. People can tell,
Yeah.
So you got to be into it,
So what's the impetus like when you're going to sit down and write lyrics for people that don't know, or they're sitting here watching this and saying, doom, what is this doom stuff? You know what I mean? Like, where do you get the impetus to write these kind of lyrics? Are you a guy that, pulls shit from the news or from movies or like books? You know what I mean? Like, is this stuff just you conjuring out of your head?
It's mostly horror movies.
Yeah.
So we have this ongoing list of titles of songs, and everybody keeps adding to it. Somebody will be like, oh, I heard this, check this out. And I'm like, oh, that's badass. So we have this list, and when we have the guitar track and the drum track, I'll listen to it. I'll be like, oh, dude, you know what this sounds like? I mean, I'm hearing this chorus mangled as the hideous feed. Yeah. And the guys would be like, oh, cool, and dude, I think we had that title, Mangled as the Hideous Feed, for like 10 years. Yeah. Yeah. No song ever really fit,
Just didn't have the right piece of music to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And like the evil that haunts this ground, that was a title that was around for forever. House of Dripping Gore, that was a title that was around forever. So I listen to it. It's mostly me. He'll do his songs. I don't know how he does his songs, but me, I listen to it, and I just get a feeling for the overall weight of the song, right, and how evil it is, and I get ideas, and our beginning when we're a lot of times when we're recording the songs, if I don't have lyrics yet, we call it the groovy song. Yeah. We had one that we called the Mayhem song because it reminded us of mayhem, So we have the one that was the backwards song, and like, so we had like these we nicknamed them.
Right. These are all like in utero type titles, right?
Yeah. Because we used to do song 1 and song 2 and song 3. And our drummer hated that. He's like, man, he's like, that just doesn't give me any kind of feeling. So he started nicknaming them, and it kind of, we all started doing it after that. So,
and as the vocalist, and you are singing extreme metal, which, obviously, your throat, also becomes an instrument. Are you one of these guys who can just go out and just belt it out? Or are you one of these conscientious guys about throat or voice care?
I don't do much throat or voice care. If I'm on tour, that's different. Yeah. If it's 1 or 2 shows, I don't do anything. But if I'm on tour, I have to wear inner ear monitors. Yeah. So that I don't overstrain my voice, or I wear earplugs if I don't have the inner ears. And I have throat tea that I take, and I have a throat spray. So it just depends. Like if it's like 10 dates is not a problem for me.
Yeah.
But more than 10, I have to really take care of my throat. So.
And what is the itinerary like when you guys have been doing this for a while? You know, is it hard when you do want to go out and tour to get everybody on the same page? Because, you know, obviously as you get older, the narrative in your life changes. You know, maybe you've got a day job that keeps you from being able to having the luxury to go away for a while, or a family or kids or whatever. Is that hard working out the itinerary when you guys are going to take it on the road?
Yeah. I mean, we all have kids.
Yeah.
So, you know, they'll be like, just getting the dates down is tough, man, because they're, you know, I've sacrificed a few of my kids' birthdays for shows or tours, and I don't want to be the only one that does that.
Right.
You know, so, you know, I want to know that maybe the other guys are doing that, or, you know, if they have to. I just don't want to feel like, you know, I don't want anybody else's family to get like jaded because, you know, we took their daddy, you know, we took their daddy on when it was their birthday. So the good thing is most of our kids are older, so they kind of understand now. But the main thing, that's the main thing is working around birthdays and for scheduling. But once the stars align and everything's good. And also our Chris, our guitarist, he goes to Japan every summer because his wife is Japanese. So he goes to Japan for a month. So we have to schedule around that. And then I got MASSACRE tours.
Right.
Me and Eldon both do MASSACRE. So trying to schedule around that, it's tough, man. It's a lot of working components, you know.
What about when you tour, like, you know, as you get older, like we both just mentioned at the top of the interview, both, you know, in that, you know, 50-year-old demographic now, do you notice that the dynamic changes at all when you go out on the road as far as, like, you know, we talked about the throat care, but just any kind of other preparations or like any changes in the routine? I know I've talked to a lot of guys out here that say I stretch a lot more than I used to.
Yeah. Sleep is a big deal. Sleep is a huge deal. Most of the time, you know, on tour, I'm missing my kids a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm missing my bed more than anything, man. Like, my bed is very comfortable. Every hotel's different. Some hotels are nice. You know, sometimes there's like on this last tour with MASSACRE, we had some travel times that were 10 hours. So we'd get off the stage and the road manager would go, "Hey, you guys got 3 hours of sleep, and then we got to get on the road."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and so we have two guys in the band that are used to waking up at like 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And then there's two of us that wake up like 6 or 7, you know, and if I get woken up, I get grumpy as fuck.
Sure. Yeah.
I am the grumpiest motherfucker. So I really have to make sure the guys realize, man, if I'm sleeping, don't poke the bear, man.
Yeah. Don't poke the bear. And now one thing that I have to ask about, and I had a picture of this on my phone, but it looks like I got rid of it. But so when I was getting my bullet points together and stuff to talk to you about, I invariably, you know, put your name in or whatever. Some stuff on Google came up, and then I ended up on the metal encyclopedia type page where it lists your bands and stuff. And with Serpent Sun, you know, I'm wondering what this means when it says 2009 to question mark. What does this mean, question mark? There is still a Serpent Sun. We're not sure when Serpent Sun ended. We're not sure if it's ending.
Yeah. So Serpent Sun was started with my drummer started that before I even knew about it. I think in like 2000. So I think it was 2006, 2007. He started that band with some other guys. Didn't work out. So when I joined Equinox, I rejoined Equinox in 2007, and with
Oh, hold on. You got frozen there for a minute. Technical difficulties abound.
For a minute.
This is the yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. But before you make your point, I do just want to show you, as you can see right there, Serpent Sun 2009 to question mark.
Yeah.
I've never quite seen that before.
Yeah, 2009 is when we started recording the demo. Yeah. And basically what happened was we were all in on Serpent Sun. It was me playing singing and playing bass, and Gabriel and Lewandowski playing drums, and we never could find the right guitarist that would fit with the band. And when I was doing Serpent Sun and DRUID LORD at the same time, and basically DRUID LORD took off, and because of the guitarist problem, we never put any more time into Serpent Sun. And Gabriel joined Resurrection, and he was touring Europe before I was in Resurrection. Right. And then we just now started to re-record the demo, and we have a guitarist. His name's Christopher Kish, and we're probably going to get another guitarist because I like to have the 2 lead guitarists, you know. Yeah. So, but it's something we want to do. It's just like the pandemic fucked everything up. Yeah. And now I'm in Massacre and DRUID LORD. So like my time was limited, but Massacre's taking a break for the rest of this year. Okay. I think we're doing like maybe a small like 3 or 4 day like thing in Milwaukee, I think. And after that, so there's nothing going on, and nothing going on with DRUID LORD for the rest of the year either after this tour. So we're going to really focus on Serpent Sun. So the guys have been like bugging me. They're like, dude, we need to work on this.
Hey, can we end this 14? Okay, can we end this 14-year sabbatical or hiatus, whatever?
Yeah. Man, has it been that long? Oh my God, it has been that long. Yeah, that's crazy.
Great. Yeah. Yeah. So the bass guitar is your primary instrument.
Yes.
Now, how do you arrive at the bass? Is it by default? I hear a lot of guys say, "Oh, I started out as a guitar player," or vice versa. I've heard both sides of the story, and I ended up having to take up the other instrument. Obviously, sometimes when guys are starting bands, and I just had to talk about this yesterday in an interview with a bass player, and I agree. The bass really, that whole bottom end and the whole rhythm section really makes music really swing. So I'm not impugning the importance of it, but how do you find your way to the bass? Because a lot of times when guys get into bands, they do want to be the front man, or they do want to be the guitar shredding guy or whatever. It's not always the most glamorous of instruments.
Yeah. Well, so it was kind of a mistake. It was kind of a fluke. I played guitar for like 20 years, and I quit Equinox because I was having kids, and I started focusing on my career. Yeah, because I'm a carpenter, and I had my own business going, and it was getting very tough to have the little kids and the career and do the music. So I just quit Equinox, and in 2001 I quit Equinox, and then in 2007 the guys called me and they said, "Hey, Matt's quitting, the bass player singer," and in the bands before, well, besides Astron, I was always the singer, in my other bands. So I wanted to sing. So that gave me a great opportunity. And so I joined Equinox, and then like a year in, it fizzled out, Yeah. But when we were going to do DRUID LORD and Serpent Sun, I wanted to sing. And I kind of had, I did those tours with Diabolic. I didn't mention that. Right around 2007, 2008, I did these tours with Diabolic, and I really loved playing bass and singing, man. Yeah. It just really, something really clicked. I think it was when I was doing the Diabolic tour, something really clicked. And I was never a really great lead guitarist, and nobody really wants like a rhythm guitarist. They want lead guitarist.
Yeah.
They want 2 lead guitars. And Pete used to, and Equinox used to be like, hey, yeah, you could do a lead here and I'll do a lead there. And I was like, okay. And he kind of forced me into playing leads, but I was never super comfortable playing leads. So this gave me a chance to really focus on my singing, which is what I wanted to do anyway.
Yeah.
And I just, once I got into bass, I just loved bass. And then when Massacre, like a couple of years ago, Massacre is like, hey, we need a guitarist. Would you think about playing guitars with Massacre? And I'm like, sure. So I joined the band. I learned all the stuff. And, you know, it was fun, but it wasn't, there was something, it wasn't like all I, you know, it wasn't really what I wanted. And so when the bass player quit, they were like, would you want to play bass or continue playing guitar? I'm like, I'm playing bass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I just
take me home.
Yeah, I just love the bass, man. It's just something about it. It suits my body better. I have big hands.
Yeah.
It's just, I love the sound of it. I have subwoofers in my vehicles. Like, I love the sound of the bass.
Yeah.
So it just,
you're that guy rolling down the road with the car rumbling, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is me.
And so you're down in the Florida area, correct?
Yes.
Now, I've had guys on here before, you know what I mean? And obviously for people that don't know, Florida always has been a hotbed for just great extreme music, you know, a legendary death metal scene. Maybe, you know, I can get your opinion or theory on it because we just haven't seemed to quite put a finger on it yet. But why so much goddamn great heavy music coming out of Florida? Everybody just angry from the heat? Is it a coastal thing? Salt water in the air? I mean, palm trees? What do you chalk it up to?
I'm not sure. Maybe it is the heat. I don't know. I heard Death. The first time I heard Death was in high school, and some girl had it on cassette, and I was like, wow. I was like, this is really heavy.
Yeah.
I was like, the music's great. I was like, vocals. I was like, that's too much for me.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just too much for me. And then I just kept listening to it, man, and it wears you down, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you love it, you know, and then I couldn't get enough of it. So it's weird, man. First time I heard it, I was listening to thrash.
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, this is never gonna take off, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, but I love the music. I was like, wow, the music's really heavy. But I just thought the vocals were just too much. And it's funny because now, I mean, you know, less than a year later, I'm just like, I'm playing death metal.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I went from it not being so cool to, so I know, I just think everybody here saw what was happening and we really got into it. And we're tape trading. And I think everybody wanted to be the next Deicide or Morbid Angel, you know? And so, you know, that's what all our friends were doing. Yeah. So I think that's what has a lot to do with it. I met a guy from Ohio. I played in a Slayer tribute band, and we were talking about death metal, and he said, yeah, in Ohio, I never got into death metal because in Ohio, none of my friends were listening to it.
Right.
So, yeah. So Slayer was the heaviest thing he had heard.
Geographically challenged.
Yeah, exactly. So
it just wasn't popping off up in his neck of the woods.
There was a buzz here, you know.
Right.
You know, my buddy's like, hey, Cannibal Corpse is playing next weekend. You got to come see these guys. They're amazing. And I went, and I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they pretty much are the preeminent, man. Like they are certainly the Mount. You know, they're certainly one of the first heads on our faces on that Mount Rushmore of death metal.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, just a monstrous band, and you know, to be able to sell and by no means are they multi-platinum or like astronomical figures, but for a death metal band to even be in the millions is pretty impressive, though. I mean, you know, how long it's taken them to get there. I mean, you know. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. And of course, George Corpse Grinder's neck is impressive. I mean, you got a neck like that. I mean, you're selling albums and you've got that neck. I mean, and so you mentioned earlier about the effects of COVID. How did that directly affect you? If you can go back a couple of years when everything kind of spiraled out of control around, I guess it was like 2020. I mean, I work in healthcare as a nurse by day, so I should know these dates when COVID, was heaped upon us. But I believe it was around 2020. But so how did it affect what you had going on musically? Did it derail any shit? Did you get the plug pulled on shit like so many other bands did?
Big time. Yeah. So we were in Mexico when it hit, and when it hit here, and they were talking about shutting down, basically United States.
Yeah. The world. Yeah.
Yeah. And we thought we were going to get stuck in Mexico.
Yeah.
And we got here, and like 3 days later they shut down, and so we had just made it, and then it sucked because we had a European tour scheduled that year.
Yeah.
The Druid Lord tour with Anatomia that we are doing now, we had scheduled in 2021. Right,
and you did the split album with them too, right?
Yeah. And we did that split for that tour.
Yeah.
And so it got they pushed it from 2020 to 2021, and then 2021 to 2022.
Yeah, I've heard this story.
They pushed it again because in 2022 and in the very early when they were getting the vaccine wasn't available, I think, in Japan.
Yeah.
So Anatomia couldn't get the vaccine, so it got pushed one more year.
Yeah.
So this is the year, man. No COVID.
I know.
No bullshit. We're all healthy, and all the guys in Anatomia are healthy. And we wanted to do this tour with them because we met them, and when we went to Killtown in 2019, we met them, and they were just like this awesome group of guys. And then we saw them in Mexico too, and we're like, hanging out with them, and they're like, we should tour together.
Yeah.
So we even thought last year about doing the tour without them, but it just wouldn't have been the same. So right. I'm glad they're able to do it.
Now, Massacre, you talk about going out and playing live with them. Obviously, goes without saying, man. The history of that band and how legendary they are. How do you specifically get tapped to end up in that band, though?
Oh, so I've known Cam. Cam was really good friends with Pete Slate, my guitarist in Druid Lord. Pete was, those guys are a little older than me. Yeah. I'm 50, they're 55.
Yeah.
So, when I was 15, or when I was 14, they're 19, and they're, they had a leg up on me. They knew about the scene more than me.
Yeah.
And they were friends. Pete went to like really early. He was at one of the what was the name of the band that was before Death? They were called Mantis.
Mantis is what they were.
Pete was at a Mantis show. Pete was at an Amon show before Amon was deicide.
Yes.
Pete was at I can't remember what Obituary was called before Obituary.
Oh, they were. Oh God, they were. Oh God, they're one of my favorite death metal bands.
Yeah.
And now I'm completely. Oh, they were Executioner.
Executioner. Pete was at like all these really early shows. He was at, he's really a pioneer. So he knew Cam from just going to shows and stuff, you know. And Pete had actually tried out for Massacre really early, like I think 1989 or 88 or something like that. You know, he had tried out for Massacre and it didn't work out, but he was still friends with Cam and Rick for years and years. So I met Cam through Pete in 94, 95, something like that.
Yeah.
We went out to Denny's and Cam Lee's there, and I'm like, oh dude, I love Massacre, you know? Yeah. And I recorded back in when I was doing all the Druid Lord and the Serpent Sun stuff. Cam found out that I have a recording studio in my garage, and he was doing Grotesquerie.
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, hey, I need someone to record my vocals. Would you do that? So I was like, yeah, man, sure. And we were friends, so it wasn't, you know, I had known him for years, so it was nothing for him to come over and I recorded the vocals, you know. And so, and he's always known that I played guitar, you know. So he asked a lot of people around. He asked Pete, and he asked my other guitarist, Chris Wickline, if he would do it. And those guys were busy. And he asked a few people, and they were all busy. And he asked me, and what he did, you know, what I think, I don't know if he realized it, but MASSACRE was the first death metal band I ever saw live.
Yeah.
And they were at this place called the +3 Lounge. It's the same place where I saw Pantera early 1990. And it was around that same time, actually. And when Rick Ross hit that guitar, it was just this huge wall of sound.
Yeah.
And I had never heard anything like that. Nobody had that guitar sound. It was so unique to him and what he was doing. And then Cam gets on there and he's like,
yeah.
And I had everybody before that had been like, yeah. I hadn't heard anybody do that real deep growl. And I was blown away, man. I was just, those guys impressed me so much. I was so young, you know, and I think I was 18 maybe, and they just impressed the hell out of me. So when Cam asked me, I was like, yeah. It was like a rock star moment for me because I really looked up to these guys.
Right, full circle kind of deal.
Yeah, I knew most of the lyrics to their songs.
Yeah,
I've been listening to them for like 30 years.
Plug me in, I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I was like, are we gonna do Biohazard? And he's like, yeah. I was like, yes. Like, you know, a fan getting to play with the band, I think is the best possible scenario.
It is. Yeah.
You know, he asked me in my advice, he's like, hey, should we do this? And I'm like, from a fan's perspective, like in Europe, he was like, hey, do you think it'd be cool if we did the whole all of From Beyond? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
I'm like, that's what people want. People want to hear the old stuff, man, because that's what, you know, we remember.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, he asked my advice a lot because he knows I was a fan.
Now, now, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't ask. You know, when do you have any plans on specifically with DRUID LORD on releasing any new music? Now, I know you're on the heels of an album, but you know, first of all, in this day and age, with people seeming to want to put so much stuff out, and you know, it's very singles driven now, or people are putting out EPs. You know, it seems like everyone's grasping to keep their name out there and stay relevant. Do you guys already start to think about, okay, we just put out Relics of the Dead in 2022, but we got to get something out, you know, or are you guys working more at in your own time frame? Yeah,
we don't, the same way we don't worry about trends.
Yeah,
we don't really.
Songs.
yeah. We're so anti-trend, and
you'll get it out there when you get it out there.
Yeah, it has to be organic.
Yeah,
we have to feel it. He does have a couple of songs written. We might do like a 7-inch.
Yeah,
you know, but we're not gearing up to like do a full length. Like, it just takes a long time for us to write. There's so much rewrites, and let's take this riff out. Let's, you know, some of our songs, they'll just go through like 5 different metamorphoses where, you know, we'll get sick of a riff and we're like, I don't like that riff anymore. You know,
it's a lot like a screenwriter writing a script.
Yeah. I would definitely say there's some perfectionist, the problems with us, like, you know, trying to perfect everything, you know, and just taking a long time. We take a long time. I mean, it's honestly, it's probably going to be until another full length. It's probably going to be 2 years.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, unless there's another, the only good part about the pandemic was the only thing you could do was write music.
Yeah, I got that a lot. I get that a lot in my interviews. Yeah, I'm always asking people like how they spent the time, because there are some people who kind of peeled back and just said, okay, time just to take a deep breath, recharge the batteries, do what you're going to do with your family or whatever. But there were a lot of people that were very prolific in terms of their productivity and their and their outpouring of creative inspiration. Yeah,
we wrote a whole album and the 7-inch for the Anatomia thing, and yeah, it was that was the only good thing about the pandemic, and like getting to spend time with my kids.
Yeah. You know? And what is your creative process like for you individually? Because I always get a lot of guys on here, and it's always fascinating to me where it seems like there's always like two schools of thought. I get a lot of guys on here who are who are the creativity strikes throughout the day and they're humming riffs into their phone, or they're jotting notes down or Post-its. And then I get a lot of people who are very, very regimented. I'm going to go in this room, I'm going to lock myself in there, and for 5 hours, I'm going to treat it like a job, and I'm going to write. Are you one of those two types?
I can't. I'm the first type. I don't force myself. I can't force it. Nothing I've ever done forced sounded good.
Yeah.
It has to come organically, and I get most of my inspiration like in the car.
Yeah.
And I have a system with my phone where I just dictate. I use the dictate thing on that, and I just voice memo, and I got a ton of voice memos for lyrics. I'm mostly inspired that way. We write the music first, and then we put lyrics onto it. I've never been able to write a song with lyrics and then put music to it. I've tried, and it just was horrible.
Yeah.
So, but I like when Pete does like some really off time stuff. Like we have this song called Festering Tombs, and it's in like 7/13 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's something weird, and I'm like, oh, I like that kind of stuff. And now when I go see other bands play, I'm like, hey, is that in 7/8? Or like I hear time signatures now, which is weird, And I almost have perfect pitch now too. Like when I'm tuning my guitar, I can tune it without a tuner.
Yeah.
And then I get the tuner and I'm like, wow, I was really close. Like, so just over the years you get adapted to it. But I can't force it, man.
Yeah.
It has to come organically. Yeah.
Are you somebody
in a good mood,
Are you somebody who gets out and gets to see, like when you're off the road, are you getting out currently to see a lot of live bands, or is it kind of hit or miss with that?
No, I'm such a fan, dude. I went to 2 concerts this weekend, Friday and Saturday night. I go out a lot. For me, like local music, like if we're not going out and supporting it, like it's gonna die.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I think if I like to take a lot of pictures and post it on Facebook, and people see me like, oh, he's having fun, and and I'm like, you should be here hanging out with me,
Exactly.
Like, let's drink some beers, make a party out of it. I like to make a party out of it.
Sure.
And then just try to get everybody involved. I like to see friends that I haven't seen, since before the pandemic, and it's funny to see, like last year, a lot of people were kind of big because they had gained weight from COVID, and now you see a lot of guys losing the weight. You're losing your COVID weight, all right?
losing my COVID, losing my COVID 20.
Yeah,
20
exactly,
pounds.
Man. Yeah, I get out a lot. I think it's good. I want people to see. I like drinking beers and watching bands play, but I think it's also important that people see you supporting the scene, and maybe they'll feel inclined to support the scene too, And
And I love about the taking care of the scene because it really does remind me. And I stumbled across, I went down that rabbit hole on YouTube of watching some Pantera stuff. And it started with an interview, and then I got watching. By the way, where do you stand on the whole Pantera reunion, man? Do you like what the boys are out there doing right now?
Yeah, man. It's better than no Pantera.
Right. I mean, it is introducing the music to a whole bunch of new people that, that never got the chance to experience it live. I was fortunate enough, and you mentioned it too, of getting to see the original, incarnation of Pantera with the Abbott brothers or whatever. And of course, nothing's going to top that. I mean, but
I got a great Pantera story.
Go ahead.
I saw them this little club, man. They were opening for Prong. It was like a Thursday night. We got there kind of early because we wanted to start drinking some beers.
Sure.
And this little guy comes in, and he's got this long ass mohawk, man. And just like around that time, nobody was doing that.
Right.
So, and we're kind of, you get some beers in us and we can kind of be assholes. So we're like, look at this fucking guy with a fucking mohawk. And we're like, I don't think he can hear us, hopefully, but we're like, kind of like, look at this guy, he didn't fit in, and he got up later, and that was Phil from fucking Pantera. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, that guy can fucking belt out. I don't care about the mohawk. And then a few months later, no mohawk, but
yeah.
But they blew me away. They were so good, man. And I think Prong came on afterwards, and I stayed for like 2 songs of Prong, and then it was a Thursday night. I had to go.
Yeah.
But I will never forget seeing them in a small club. There wasn't a lot of people there.
Yeah.
And you were just right there. And
those are the shows you really remember. They really
my God, it was amazing. I'll never get a chance to see Pantera that up close again.
Right.
And they were hungry, man. And
now it's going to cost you. Yeah, now it's going to cost you $150, and you're not going to be nearly as close.
It was $10, man. It was $10.
Yeah.
And Dimebag did this solo, and they had this guy on a strobe light, like spotlight thing.
Yeah.
And with the beer and the music, I just thought they were the fucking greatest band in the world.
Yeah.
I was like, I just witnessed something amazing.
Yeah.
And I told all my friends, and they never played a small club again.
Yeah. Well, that was my point that I was making earlier, how you were saying, how you were saying going out and supporting the live music and supporting the scene so it doesn't die off. And that was the point. I remember watching one of these documentaries about Pantera, and somebody making the comment like, I mean, fuck, they were really one of the bands that really kept flying the flag and really kept heavy metal alive, especially during the 90s when we kind of got that grunge kind of segued into hip hop and country. And it almost fucking seemed like, holy shit, if someone doesn't do something here quick. Metallica was going through that wonky stage where they were losing their fans a little bit with the load and reload shit and, painting their fingernails and cutting their hair and getting a little weird and, starting to lose like some of their fan base. So Pantera was really that band in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. What's funny is I didn't even when I went to see them play, I'd only heard the song "Cowboys from Hell."
Yeah,
and I didn't know anything else about them.
Yeah,
but after that, I bought the CD.
Yeah,
and I worshipped it. It was amazing. And I think for people who maybe are not Pantera fans, if a band hits you at a time when you're open to it,
right,
you will receive it.
Yeah.
But if a band hits you at a time when maybe you're really heavy into death metal, I was just getting into death metal when I heard Pantera. So if you're really heavy into death metal and you're like, these guys aren't as heavy, maybe, and because I have friends that say, yeah, I'm not really a Pantera fan, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. But they didn't hit them at the right time in their lives,
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping to do, is hit people, at a time when their doom is like something that'll hit them right.
Yeah.
So weed helps.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Weed has helped us so much with Doom fans because they're like, man, I love smoking weed and listening to DRUID LORD. I'm like, cool, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you had me at smoking weed, but I mean, then you had to do it. I mean, then you had the Doom elements and all the other stuff on top of it. Though. And I think a lot of people, I think there's a misconception there that you can't get down to heavy music, man. That it's not, the weed isn't tailor made for that, or vice versa, or whatever, man. That you got to sit back and listen to something really laid back or whatever and mellow. But I implore people out there, smoke your weed and try out the heavy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look at that fucking Cannabis Corpse, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's heavy, fast shit out there. It doesn't have to be slow.
Yeah. Open your minds out there, people.
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, I'm glad we finally got a chance to do this, man. I appreciate you spending the time with me, man. It's been a real blast getting the chance to talk to you, man. I love the DRUID LORD shit. I'll go smoke some weed and listen tonight. I mean, that's my nightly play. Right. I mean, pretty much. But yeah, it's been really fun. I appreciate it. When I put the episode up, I'll send you the link. Share it wherever you want, man. And definitely keep in touch. Hopefully we can do it again sometime down the road.
Yeah, man. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. It's been a great talking to you, man.
Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
All right.
Later. Now I'm going to watch you try to get out of this phone call. Red button at the bottom. It looks like a phone.
I see it now.
Later, man.
Thanks, brother.
Later. Yeah, thank you, man. There he goes, folks. That is Tony Black. Black with 2 Ks. Don't get that twisted because I always got to let you people know that it's Rex with 3 X's. Tony Black. You may have seen him out doing his thing on stages with the legendary Florida death metal outfit MASSACRE, which is a pretty damn good fucking gig, but his main day job is DRUID LORD, doom, sludge, heavy elements of death metal, good fucking shit. Please check out DRUID LORD. Definitely Rex Ruger approved. And you can smoke weed to it, as Tony elaborated on there. Don't dispel the fact that, don't put aside the idea that heavy music can't be listened to under the influence of the mighty herb, because it can. You don't got to throw on your reggae or your fucking hip hop or your fucking Grateful Dead, man. You can throw the heavy metal shit on and you can listen and you can smoke your fucking weed. Tony Black made an excellent point right there. If you take nothing else away from this episode, please take away that, and also take away that his previous band, Serpent Sun, is going to end their 14-year hiatus. It is not 2009 ? As I pointed out, I got that from Metallica the Metal Encyclopedia page. So hopefully now they can put a date on that and ixnay the ? Serpent Sun sounds like is going to be dusted off and revived. So that's good news. Tony seems to be a guy much like myself who likes to stay busy, have his hand in a few different, pots, so to speak. No pun intended. I was just talking about pot, but Beyond Putrefaction, they did that in 2022. That was a split thing that they did with Anatomia. 2022, Relics of the Dead. That's what I was bumping today in anticipation of this interview. Keeping alive the 6 to 7 minute opus fucking songs. I fucking love that. As a 50-year-old guy, I love that. Keeping it old school. Do go check out DRUID LORD's Relics of the Dead, which came out in 2022. Oh, go check out all the shit, obviously, but that's just the most recent one that I can point you in the direction of. Just great, as I said, just great doom, elements of doom, sludge, death metal. It's heavy. It's a heavy trip for sure, and fucking awesome. Just fucking awesome music, and certainly go out and support. Tony also made a good point. Go out and support your live local scene. Go out and see live music. Support the bands. Go out and have a beer with the guys. Just get out there. Buy some fucking merch. Buy a T-shirt. It's not a great time for musicians right now with these streaming platforms and all this shit going on. And I'm not going to get on a soapbox about this right now and put a black cloud over a fantastic interview. But my main point to take away from here is go out and support live music. Go out and buy merch. Go out and see fucking bands and support. And so I really appreciate Tony Black from Massacre and DRUID LORD for coming on here, man. That was a real blast and an honor to get the chance to talk to him. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. And until we get together and we do this thing again, please remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.